Setting up. The hamsters are slow. Okay. Let's kick
Okay.
it off.
So, hello, I am CEO of Kickback, and what are we making? Well, as we know, it's kind of very similar to Wander, in the sense that like I'm solving the problem of being able to have side conversations in virtual event environments. And through this process, I've actually identified that there's four main areas that people are looking for in this space, which are games, education, business, and virtual parties. So through a lot of research, people have been looking at my product Kickback, and they've been like, oh my God, can I use this for a virtual classroom? Can I use this for to play games with my friends? And the goal of my product is to attack where all of those circles overlap. But to start off with my product, what makes it different from the other things like Wander or any of the other apps? Well, one thing that I've noticed through a lot of research is that there is a big problem with spatial audio. And how many of you guys are familiar with the term spatial audio? So essentially it's you have circles, and this is what most of the spatial audio apps look like. And they set a distance, and then how far you are determines the volume, right? And this is actually not how the real world works, because if you think about it, the way we talk to each other in real life is we can talk to each other and understand each other up to 20 feet away just by looking at people's facial expressions. So you could have a conversation and understand what someone's saying regardless of distance. Yet on these apps, they do distance-based. So like as you move away from each other, you start not being able to hear each other. And this is actually a problem for mapping how the real world works to the arena of spatial environments, because if you have a group of like 18 people, the people on the outsides of the map cannot really hear each other because they're far away. So you have people in the middle who are able to hear everyone equally, and then the people on the outsides of the cluster have trouble hearing each other. And this provides a lot of different problems, specifically like, one person in the conversation can kind of hear everyone, but then when another person who's farther away talks, they start not realizing that the reason that they can't hear each other is not because of they start wondering if the reason they cannot hear each other is because of a connection error or just because of distance. And that provides a lot of confusion. So how do I solve this problem? Well, let me just share my screen. So I use a series of, can you guys see this window? Are you guys able to see this window right here?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So for Kickback, what I do is I have a series of connected bubbles. And if you're touching someone else's bubble, you can hear them talk. And if you're not touching, you can hear them very faintly. But if these two groups of clusters right here and right here are talking, their audio doesn't get mixed into each other. So you could have two clusters of groups who are right next to each other, and their audio won't bleed into each other. And it forms like a chain. So for example, if Mike is touching Mary, but let's say Mary wasn't touching Susan, everyone in the group can hear it. So, the algorithm goes to each thing and connects the bubbles. So you can hear everyone in the group equally. And this solves major problems. Not only that, I'm focusing on doing it on mobile first, because I've noticed a lot of these companies that are doing these apps are not thinking about the mobile feature of their app, and they're creating a lot of features and interactions that just won't transfer over well to mobile. So it's easier to go from mobile to desktop than to go from desktop to mobile. For example, there's another app called GatherTown or something like that has that problem of not being able to work on mobile interfaces. So would you guys like to test it out? All right, let's get this on. Hopefully it doesn't do the classic crash when I demo it. But I've tried it before and it works in groups, so we'll see. Stop share. All right, so if everyone goes, oh wait, I have to send it to everyone. There we go. So those are the links, and you guys can download right now, and then we'll be in room 1. And then when you join the room, just be sure to mute your Zoom audio.
Silly question.
Uh-huh.
I'm on a desktop at the moment. How do I get that URL to my phone?
Oh, okay. That is a great question. You can, let me just do it.
We could post it to to Jay's space, and then we could get the URLs off Jay's space on.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll go on the phone though, wouldn't we?
I can also just link my put it on, make a tweet, and then you guys can just go to me on
Twitter.
On Twitter. Okay, let's see. So my Twitter is there we go.
I'm going to be obnoxious and say the answer to that question is have a Mac and an iPhone so you can copy on one and paste on the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be obnoxious. Yeah.
You could Facebook message it to yourself, or you could email it. You could log into Zoom again. We could all log into a burner email account and leave a draft.
Okay.
It's updated on the main site on the widget bar on the right.
The Twitter thing appears to have worked.
Any of you guys able to download it so far? Are you in room 1? Ah, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself so the audio doesn't go and bleed over. I'll see you in that.
Just hang on before you go. It's just told me I'm in. Check my inbox on my mobile. And what does that mean?
Check your inbox in the mobile?
That's what it says.
In the app?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't use Android, but it was working. Oh, I see Dave.
Possibly means it sent me an email, which isn't on my mobile. And indeed, that's exactly what it's done.
It sent you an email.
It sent me an email, but that's on the desktop. It's not on my mobile at all.
Ah, so maybe you're gonna have to
Send myself an email.
send yourself an email. Yeah. Sorry about this test. I wish I would have had this better
Testing is
thought out
good.
as far as Android goes, but
Testing is good. This is how you find stuff out.
This is exactly why I want us to get together and do things like this.
And Jay, can I tell you, this has been absolutely worth getting up at 4 a.m.
Thank you.
let's see. Anyone else have having that same problem?
Let's see.
Jan, Rachel,
Get started.
Catherine, Eva.
Hey, I am hitting getting started.
I'm on an iPhone, and when I followed through to the links that were supposed to take me there, it says switch to an Android device to accept this invitation.
Oh, you pressed I sent 2 links. So one of them is an iPhone and one of them is an Android. You see 2 links there?
I'm gonna have to go back. I was finding it on your Twitter.
Yeah, so in the Twitter, there's one big link and then one tiny link.
Wow.
Okay, got it.
At this point, I might be about 2/3 of the way through the process. I can say already it's way too many steps and it's making way too many assumptions about my platform. Because now I'm being asked to decide which one of my Google accounts I want to use. I don't want to use any of them.
Yeah, this is the only way to test on Android without releasing to the market.
Okay.
So that's just an Android problem. But yeah.
In that case, I'll accept.
I don't want to do public release yet. So I'm only doing a private beta.
Oh, I see.
From the Apple side, it seems to have just kind of linked to my Apple account, maybe.
Yeah. So I'll see you guys in the app real quick, just so I can give the people in it a tour real quick.
I'm sharing it on my screen if anybody wants to kind of vicariously follow along.
I'd like to try the real thing, because the problem that you're solving is exactly the problem that I have seen with many of this class of app, which I think is, a brilliant solution to the challenge that we've got for social interactions. Zoom is not the answer.
Sorry, Donjay, I suppose headphones might help for this?
Okay, I'm in. Yes, I can hear you guys. So, yeah. Yeah, beta testing. Yeah, I'm doing that. See. It's like a 0.2 beta. Thank you, Dave, for sharing your screen.
tell when there aren't lots of people talking at once.
Yeah, so they can like. Work as much as that. Yeah. Yeah. But you can jump on top. Okay. So it's a very natural way to move around, just like if you would in like a normal party setting. So like obviously, you know, right now it's just like a demo, so we don't really have the need to do side conversations with very few of us. But if this, you have like 30. It'd be very easy to have little side conversations. So anyways, I'm gonna go back to the meeting room.
Okay, let's go back to Zoom.
I just got it to work. I just got it to work, and it's what's really weird is when I turn the phone on its side.
Hey, Dave? Dave Como?
Yep.
So should we ask for hydrogen red support?
Yeah, right. Right. We need to have multiple.
Hey everyone.
Hello, welcome back.
Hey everyone, I'm back. So that's the little demo. As you can see, everything works. It just needs like more people to really see like the major benefits. But what do you guys think so far?
It was pretty good that it worked. We got in there, and now we're back.
Certainly,
Yeah, I can see it being. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say this absolutely fixes a problem I've observed with other systems of this class. I moved away from the main group, and they were still louder than I would have expected.
Yeah.
But I had nobody else I was moving towards, so I don't know whether that's real or not. But that question of how big is the bubble and what happens when you move up to a group, that's really important. And what I've observed socially, for instance, with spatial chat, people coming into the system, is that two people will break away, go over to one side of the field. Somebody else will wander up. The people will move into a triangle. You get a fourth person come up. They'll move into a square, and they do exactly the same thing that people will do at a cocktail party.
Mm-hmm.
So the paradigm actually works really well. But then I saw as the cluster got big enough, you couldn't hear people who were on the other side. And so this solves that problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
And so I'll just give you guys like a little behind the scenes on how I plan out the app and basically how I do my research, because I want to, add value in addition to just, showing off my demo. So here is my process for how I collect user feedback and process it. So I use a Miro So first I posted on Reddit. So I got a whole bunch of different people responding on Reddit, and then what I did was you can just type in after any Reddit post .rss, and it will generate an RSS feed. So I was able, so a whole bunch of people commented and I responded to everyone on the comment. That's actually how I found this conference. And so I took all of their feedback and I, put it into different categories, mentioning competitors, responses, questions, feedback, feature requests, anything that talks about different markets that this, could address. And then I just have this unsorted pile and I sort all of it. And then the way I got it into this was I did a .rss after the Reddit post. I was able to export it to a CSV file by using some like RSS to CSV converter. And a CSV file is just basically an Excel file. And then so I was able to export all of the comments into this. This has a feature where you can export CSVs. And then what I did was, these are all of the different like areas of the app that I'm trying to develop out. All of the specific features that I organized into everything. So I have chat, profiles, a map, a website, safety and privacy, being able to block users, for example, games I could play in the room, like tag or hide and go seek, and stuff like that. And then what I do is I took all of those features and I put it into the four, I organized them into this Venn diagram where I looked at what are the business features, education features, game features, and party features. So a party feature might be like AR filters, but that kind of fits into games too. Not very useful for education and business. For education and business, people want a whiteboard, so I put whiteboard there, and so on. And then so what I do is I looked at all of the overlapping features that people were asking for from these four communities. And this is how I decide what to focus on first. So for example, people want to be able to kick movers, move people around. So if you're a teacher, maybe you could just drag people around and move them on the map to organize the students, for example. Or obviously everyone commented on this, aim camera at the face. It's a very basic thing that just needs to be done. And then what I do is I take all of these features and I put them into this bang for your buck analysis, the cost versus value to create. And then so aim camera at face, very easy to fix. That's going to be one of the first things. Show names on users, very easy to create, adds a ton of value, right? More expensive features. In the future, I want a global currency, but I'll get into that in a bit. And then I kind of do this cost benefit analysis, which is kind of like another thing, high effort, low reward, low effort, high reward. And then I break that down into the quarters. So based off of that, I can break down the feature sets into my development cycles that I want to build it out in. And then I kind of, based on that, will create like a little wireframe to go along with that. And then I kind of refine that to just only a few features. And these are the ones that I have to really focus on. Being able to shout, show names on map, desktop, audio versions, etc. And then this is what I hand off to a developer based off those specs. Looking at the competition, I've been kind of collecting every single player in this space right now. And this is my list so far. I'll be sharing one if you guys DM me on Twitter. I will share it with you. But this is a list of all of the competitors in this space, and I'm constantly adding it because they're constantly popping up daily. I actually have, what's the one that we were using? Wander. Wander's on here. I found out about them. There's a whole bunch of other ones, and I kind of, add the amount raised and add a whole bunch of different categories of like, do they use spatial audio? What are they used for? Are they used for conferences, networking, etc.? Water cooler for work, meetings. And I'm just trying to map out the entire market in high detail. And there's different pros and cons to all of these apps. One of my favorites competitors is actually this one called Toucan. And they're really cool. I really like them. They're very similar to mine. They have a different philosophy of using bubbles to like kind of like basically tables, and you can just jump into them. I thought that's interesting. Do I think it's a better solution? Not really, because you don't have freedom of movement. So, for example, Toucan would never be able to enter into the game space because you have no movement. And so by allowing for movement in the app, it kind of lets you attack different vectors, you know, of how you could of use cases. You know, this could be used as a game because I'm building it in Unity. It could be used as a party. I could build out a full-featured education platform. So yeah, there's a lot of things in the works, and that's pretty much my presentation. So I'll just open it up to questions. Yeah.
How are you focusing on scalability? And I'll ask that because one of the things I've observed, for instance, with Online Town, is that when we put, I don't know, 100 people into a space, it became like working in sludge.
Yes. So that's just working with WebRTC, or, you know, they have different APIs for how you handle the audio in the rooms. That's going to be a natural limitation of everyone in the space, just because we're always going to try and push the limits for their events to try and get everyone in the event into these rooms, and scaling that is just a very iterative process. You start off with 10, you move to 20, you move to 50, and each step has its new amount of challenges and hurdles.
Is there a practical limit to the number of people you could have in a space?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, what are the dependencies?
So there's it. So you have to be able to understand the limitations. You have to understand the core technologies, which are, there's video chat, the video chat aspect. I mean, as far as like the movement and just recording people's positions, you've all heard of MMOs, which are mass multiplayer online. And those can already have a bajillion people, so that's not an issue. Oh, and David, I see you left a question. I'll definitely get to that question after this one. But then we have to look at technologies like the video. So if you've noticed on Zoom, you will never see more than like 20 people at a time. You know how they have like that thing where you flip through, there's like arrows, and then you have to flip through the next page, and next page, next page. That's not an accident. That's a limitation of their technology, actually, of being able to show so many data streams for video at one time. And that's a huge problem in this space because, and different apps handle it differently. So for example, Gather.town, they allow like little clusters of people to show up together, but there's only so many people who can be bunched up at one time. So we'll have a limitation of how many videos you could see at the same time. It also matters how big is each video. Is each video in full HD? That's a lot of data to stream to everyone at the same time. There's also other limitations of peer-to-peer, or sending it to a server and then broadcasting it. Peer-to-peer is cheaper because it goes, I'm streaming data directly to someone and they're streaming it to me. But once you get to big groups, keeping up those connections. So there's a lot of different strategies people are implementing in these apps. But the one trend that I'll tell you is for video, you will never see more than 20 people at a time in any of these apps at the moment. And as far as, there's apps like High Fidelity. To get to David's question, he asked me, do you have any plans to integrate interactive maps like High Fidelity? So kind of segueing to High Fidelity, they use audio only right now, probably because of those limitations of video. And I think that's good. Like, that's a great way to prototype it. But I think people want video. And so I think there's a place in the middle, which, you know, I'm currently working on, which is how do you kind of offer both solutions in a way that looks like one cohesive product. Do I have plans to integrate interactive maps like High Fidelity? Yes, I do. This is like a game, right? So people float around and it feels very natural and human-like. So in every game, you can interact with the environment, and keeping it fun, I think it's essential to create experiences where you can interact with the environment or also interact with other players. I want to transfer every offline real world interaction. Like, what does it look like to whisper to someone? What does it look like to shout at someone in real life? How do you grab someone like you can in real life and say, hey, come with me, I want to introduce you to someone? How do you do that, in a way that just feels effortless and people just can automatically intuitively use? And I think the real winner in the space is going to be who can translate all of those offline, interactions into something that feels intuitive, like the real world. It's not going to be who makes the most conference features and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, like in real life, if you think about what a conference is, it's just a big building with some like signs telling you where to congregate and giving the ability for people to like have a stage. And it's really no more complicated than that. There's also the invites and stuff like that, but what's the project before me, they're handling stuff like that. So essentially it's all about just translating the real life UX into the virtual world. John says, I think if I had to choose between live video and the audio paradigm of kickback, I would do without the video, but the experience shows that an avatar picture on the important is named. Yeah, so that's kind of the direction that I've decided to head into, because audio can just support much bigger rooms than video at the moment. And video will soon scale, but it just takes a lot of work on the back end to be very creative to scale up the video aspect. Any other questions?
So with WonderMe, the screen share aspect is really impressive in that it can replicate a academic poster session where you have the different groups sharing different screens. Do you have any plans to go in that direction?
Yeah, screen sharing is definitely like one of the things that everyone asks for. And I think while a lot of these other companies focus on that's fine. Like, they're going to be making some more immediate revenue as far as being able to offer those. But I think a lot of times these companies are going to get too far stuck going down a path of just trying to get into the conference space, which it's a good space, but it only solves one tiny little corner of this problem. And there's just more, like focusing on the bubbles, for example, is like my first area of focus because it feels intuitive. And I want to just be the most intuitive platform at the moment. And just be able to attack multiple segments is kind of where I'm trying to aim for at the moment.
Do you think this would translate into a VR headset where it could be sort of a lightweight version of ArtSpace or one of those?
VR chat? Yeah. So VR chat is, for those you don't know, is a highly, highly successful VR program where essentially you just have an avatar and people run around just in these crazy avatars anonymously and just like start talking to each other and yeah. So this is kind of like the bird's eye view of that. You could just imagine VR chat is first person, and then this is more of the bird's eye. In the future, definitely transitioning to VR is going to be important for this platform. But I think right now VR is not accessible, and yet we see how popular an open world environment. It's basically a communication MMO VR chat is. So why not just bring that to the phone and have MMO VR chat, but just on any device. So I think having it being accessible will generate a huge user base. Is there any, Jan asks, is there any way to close off a conversation if you want to make a private chat? Yeah, so that's also another thing. So I want to, in real life, what does that look like? Well, it looks like, you know, if someone walks up to you in real life and like you don't want to talk to them, you know, they won't make eye contact with you, because if you make eye contact with someone, that's inviting them into the conversation. So that kind of happens naturally. In my app, you just won't be able to intersect bubbles. It'll kind of like block you, ding, 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 so people can close it off. So there's a lot I can do with this as far as recreating how these things work. It would just be like a button. I would just say, close, make this conversation private for everyone in this group. And yeah, I think that's kind of what we're missing right now, is the ability for things to feel real online. Like right now, if someone wanted to just break away and just tap someone on the shoulder in this Zoom meeting and be like, hey, let's talk to the side, you know, this Donji guy, he's boring as fuck. Like, you know, I'd rather talk to you about something else. You know, you can't just pull someone out of this and just start talking to them. And I think that's what we're all kind of looking for, is being able to, if you go to a networking event, you know, it's very hard to network if you can't just have one-on-one conversations so easily. What do you have to, what is the procedures for it in, you know, a thing like this? Do you have to message someone and say, you know, hey, I'd like to have a one-on-one. Oh, what time? You know, that takes a lot of time to set up a one-on-one conversation versus real life. You just tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, I want to talk. Can you talk right now? And they're like, yeah. And you just pull them aside and you're talking, you know? So a lot of it can be done with breakout rooms or scheduling. But as we know in real life, if you had to schedule everything at a conference in order to have a one-on-one conversation, imagine how few one-on-one conversations you'd have. You know, it would be kind of crazy to schedule every single one-on-one conversation before you had it at a conference in the real world.
I think you've hit it right there. The thing that I wanted to solve for Worldcon and never really got to do. We did it with Discord. We used Discord and we sort of mapped the socialization onto that, which you can't do in Zoom, and you certainly can't do easily in breakout rooms in Zoom, is how you reconstruct the concept of the corridor conversation, the serendipitous meeting that you have with people that makes live convention going so important. That's why you would travel halfway around the world, because you know you're going to have those conversations.
Yeah, what company is yours?
Well, I was involved with running the World Science Fiction Convention this year.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
that wasn't in Wellington. And we had to invent a very large amount of stuff very, very quickly, because there was no history to go on. I mean, we were virtualizing right on pretty much on day one of everybody going, oh yeah, COVID is a thing.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And that was sort of completely unexpected. Whereas, you know, now even 6 months down, I can see that Rachel Livermore, with what she was doing, you know, like that couple of months extra meant she had choices that we didn't have back in February.
Mm-hmm.
But so what I'm seeing, like everything you're saying to me, this is a piece of encouragement, is saying the paradigm that you're putting together maps against the social interaction model that I believe and have observed is required to make virtualization of conventions actually work. And it's replacing the automatic human contact that we get when you just walk out of a room and talk to somebody.
Yes.
So if it manages the concept of speed dating, if it manages the can I tap you on the shoulder, we need to have a private conversation. If it manages the I'd like to sidle up and break into the conversation naturally at an appropriate time, you know, like somebody could do here now, they could join in on this conversation, except nobody is. The problem with this sort of environment is you really can have only one conversation at a time.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly.
There, that's my bit.
And David asks, can groups merge? And yeah, groups can merge. All you have to do is, it's actually funny. If you have two groups of like, let's say 3 here and 3 here, and then one person is like kind of goes in between the groups and connects them for a second, it will connect the audio of both groups. So merging is actually extremely effortless in this application.
That could be a bit weird.
Yeah, it can be weird, but the alternative is to do something like breakout rooms where everything is predefined on who can talk to who. And then going in and out of conversations, you know, if I wanted to set up a side thing, I rely on the host to make the breakout rooms to invite me to the breakout rooms. And so actually, and also one thing I've noticed is there's an app called here.me, here.fm, and they're kind of similar. They're kind of like a Miro, Wander hybrid. And you can kind of move around, draw pictures on the canvas, add post-it notes, etc. And it's video too. But they actually let you drag other people into a trash can. And if you drag them into the trash can, it actually turns off their audio and camera and shuts them up, which is pretty hilarious because you could be talking and someone could not like what you're saying and drag you in the trash can, and all of a sudden you can't talk. And what is that? Why is it so funny, and why is it like such a fun idea? Because it adds a sense of chaos. And one thing I've realized from translating experiences from the real world into the virtual world is the things that you might think are bad, that like one person could connect two groups and all of a sudden everyone's audio is together, it creates chaos, but that's what makes it fun. And if we see this when it comes to when teenagers go out drinking, you know, or like, you know, young adults go out drinking and go to bars and stuff. Like, if fights at bars weren't a thing, a lot less people would go out. And I know that sounds strange, but you know, people love the gossip the next day. Oh my God, did you hear like Bobby just got in a fight with Jay? Like, and everyone's like, oh, that was crazy, you know? And so the chaos is what makes the experiences fun. So the more chaos and weird things you can add to your app actually make it feel more real, is what I've found.
So
Have you done
Go
any
ahead.
work, any testing with music to kind of to mimic a cocktail party where you can have a couple of musicians playing and then other people be able to listen or break off for private conversation?
As far as adding music to the rooms, no, but I planned on it. I think that would be definitely fun. I know I spoke to someone who was using high fidelity, and what they did was just they put on their iPad or something and just got a little speaker and then just started playing music from that, and then that was the music for the room.
I've done that. I had experience with that where we had a happy hour with like 60 or 70 people, and when we tested it and it was just me and the other guy, the music worked really well. But then when there was so many people in there, that was a different ball game.
Yeah, so perhaps I would make the music only appear when you're not in a conversation. So if you're just single floating, you know, I could make a rule for that.
Spatial chat lets you embed a playing Zoom, sorry, a playing YouTube clip. And we found that you could, you know, spatial chat has a quite big playing space. So you could open a playing video over on one side. It became like the virtual dance floor. So, you know, if you're running Bee Gees or something, if people wanted that in the background, they could sidle up to it. And, you know, provided you have a sort of a logarithmic approach curve or something like that, you could decide how close you want to be without the audio being there or not there. So the virtual dance floor is a really cool thing that we discovered we could do.
Yeah, that was fun. But the thing I really don't like about the way they implemented it is there's an invisible, they don't actually reflect what you can hear and what you can't visually. So you're just guessing when you're looking at the interface for how close you'd have to be to hear the music. And that's very confusing. But I do like the virtual dance floor. Jan asks, people talk about Zoom fatigue. What do you think a typical duration in your app would be? So for mobile, it's considerably less than desktop because you have to hold the phone. So I'm starting off with mobile, but ultimately desktop's going to be mainly where people are using this just because you don't have to hold it. So I'm all about accessibility though. And one of the things that's really huge, I don't know if you guys heard, but Join Clubhouse is an audio platform. They just raised $10 million from Andreessen Horowitz have like $100 million valuation, and they are banking on the AirPod generation. So people have their AirPods in, and like, the idea is just the reason why you want to be on mobile is because the order is mobile video is the least amount of time you can spend on the phone. Desktop video, you can spend a little more. Mobile audio only, you can spend the most amount of time on, because you can just pop in your AirPods, move around. You don't have to look at the screen, put the phone in your pocket, and you can have like an hour-long conversation just like a phone call. And then when you need to go back into the app, you can move around and talk to another person and walk up to them and start talking, put the phone back in your pocket. And so it's kind of weird. So it's like mobile mobile by itself is takes not that much. It's a very hard. The amount of time people spend is very little. Mobile with AirPods, you have a long time you can talk. So it's kind of choosing which platform. You have to kind of think about how you want people to use it. So I think being on all platforms is pretty essential.
Maybe we could make this the last question. How do you intend to monetize this?
How do I intend to monetize it? So basically be more of like a Discord or Zoom, and having free audio rooms and paid video rooms. And letting people just kind of use it as a tool to begin with. But I have other plans, this is not just a normal platform. It's essentially a gaming platform plus a communication platform. And so who do I really idolize in this space? I don't know if you guys have heard of Roblox. You just heard of Roblox? Mm-hmm. So Roblox is a gaming platform, and it is currently one of the biggest gaming markets out there. About half of every kid in the United States has Roblox downloaded on their iPad and iPhone and all the platforms. It's on every single platform: Xbox, iPhone, Android, iPad, desktop. And what they do is they create a global currency along with a sandbox environment where any kid out there, there's little teenagers, creating games on top of this platform, and they're making like $1 million a year, and they're only like 14. And it's just because they're able to create an experience, and this platform automatically lets them monetize it through the global currency and do little in-app purchases within each mini game. And so if you go onto Roblox, you can just see like, this is you can just create an experience and everyone else can just use it, and it lets them monetize that experience. So it's more of like an operating system if you think about it. And I think that's kind of where the future of the space is, I want to create a communication operating system and allow anyone to create experiences on top of it. And that's actually why I'm focusing on translating the core elements of human communication and making it virtual. And if anyone else wants to create this experience, because I know everyone has like ideas of thinking, ooh, I could build this with this platform, I don't want you to have to go through all the trouble I did again from scratch. I want you to just focus on building your experience. So I'm going to create the core engine of communication and then let other people build experiences with my platform so they don't have to start from reinvent the wheel, and then let them monetize it. And then just take a 30% thing like Roblox does.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great having you.
Thank you. And if anyone wants to follow me on Twitter, it's my Twitter's @DonjiKong, and I'd love to talk with any of you guys because I just can't get enough of this space, and would love to have one-on-one conversations with you guys.
Yeah, or in discussion like on Reddit, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe put your Reddit username in your profile here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do people need a break, or should we just have a wrap up? Um, Anyone? Okay. Uh, did anybody see the Mars presentation or have anything to discuss about that? Just no? Okay. I'm going to just share the screen. Oh, you can hear me, right? Yeah, okay. Share the screen. Okay. Uh, this is Attendify, which seemed to work fine, and there wasn't complaints about it. So you had the schedule for each day. Then you had the speaker, embedded Zoom, live chat on the side, which as a volunteer, we had to keep track of the actual Zoom session and the live chat here and the YouTube streaming. So that's something we need some sort of integration. There's active polls, basic convention info, and he said a wonder me, but it wasn't used. Pages for the speakers, which the speakers could add themselves. They had one sponsor. And your basic exhibitors and donation link. Yeah, this basically worked pretty good. And it also was $2,000 for unlimited users. So they ended up with, as I said, 5,000 live at least. Okay. Just overview of this site. Basic tool, of course, was Google.
Sorry, could I just ask a quick question about Attendify before you move on?
Of course.
Were the videos available afterwards to watch on demand?
I was about to ask the exact same question.
They're on the YouTube channel for the Mars Society. Yeah, they just. This will be around for a year. They paid for a year license, and I don't think it actually hosts the recorded video on the platform. So, YouTube channel has everything. Yeah, that's one thing that I'm sad about, that this sort of thing just disappears, and he's looking for a way of archiving this. Okay, there's a program called Linkagogo, which I'm a major fan of. Let me just log in. This is bookmarks on steroids. You can actually add like 32K of notes to each of these. You can make aliases. Just what you can do is great. And as I'm looking for people to contact conventions, there's a bookmarklet, and this way you can add comments, hierarchical tags, freeform tags. it's something worth checking out, and it's a shame this program never really caught on. Okay. Has anybody seen Streak CRM?
Is that like at a soccer game when someone runs onto the field?
Close. Customer relationship management, and this, I was using HubSpot, but this one is also free if it's one person, and it also allows for unlimited email tracking, so you could see when somebody opens your email and make sure your message gets through. And as I was contacting potential speakers, there's a sales pipeline you could see, but I just use it for, did they reply, did they commit? Well, it's based on WordPress. And do people know about Bitnami? It lets you run WordPress on your desktop, so you can try stuff and totally screw things up and crash, and you don't have to worry, because you could just open up a saved version. So that's really good when I was learning and seeing what stuff just trashed the system. So BuddyBoss platform is the free component that gives all of the groups and the accounts and forums. When you go to login, instead of the normal WordPress login, Theme My Login makes it match. And BP Redirect, when you log in, it sends you to a specific page, and that could be different depending on the user. Countdown Builder, you store the countdown clock. Aher's Kit lets you hide or display blocks of text depending on whether you're logged in or not. So like, just show you the example. So here you're logged in now. The form saves your user information. So if you're not logged in, I have no way of knowing who you were filling out the form. So, using Caldera Forms, the add to any share for the sharing to Facebook or Twitter, and SEO Press. Let's see. That let me set a different picture easily and a blurb. WP Mail is interesting. The normal WordPress email, I've been told, is bad. So this lets me use the Google account to send all communication from the website. And I have a feeling if this gets successful enough, it's going to quickly reach Google's limits. Like Google isn't good for mass email. So probably use this plugin to switch to using like Proton Mail. Let's see. Just so my plan is to have everybody's talk with the embedded picture and with the transcript that was just taken from YouTube's captions. Oh, and this main schedule is from Conference Scheduler. which is a plugin. So it's the only thing I found that seemed to be decent. And
Wait, is this visible to us or just to you?
this was what I was just showing. I could share again.
We can all see it. I've been following along.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I mean, this should be.
Well, I
Yeah, I
learned.
mean, this you hit main schedule and you come here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the list of tools is here on the overview.
Jay, a suggestion, that overview of VCC and the list you've got there is really good. If you get a moment, could you annotate, just like a half line against each of those plugins?
Absolutely, yeah.
And possibly with the link to it. But I've seen a couple of there that I already use and a whole heap that I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. I just made it last night. This is all work in progress. My philosophy was if I could get 80% of the way there, just do it to at least get something going. Yeah, send me any suggestions what to do. Enabling foreign languages, that's a major thing to add. And I'm sort of scared to see how bad this is for a blind person. Blind access is something I'd really like to enable easily. And if anybody knows of people who work in the disability access, send me info.
That might not be as much of a problem as you think, but a lot of the work that you're asking for is actually part of themes and theme design. So if you've picked the right theme, then accessibility is something that comes along for the ride and you don't have to feel so much pain about it.
Well, because of the buddy press, I'm sort of locked into themes. I don't know how other themes would work with the plugin. And I'm actually not using the correct plugin from Buddy Boss, I mean. Yeah, this is the whole basis. The platform. So yeah, the platform is free, but if you want their theme, you have to pay. And if we could get a few people to come in, it would be cheaper. But for now, it seems to work. Any comments, questions?
I have to say, Jay, this is very, very impressive and very very, like, I don't know if it's Zoom fatigue, but the very meta nature of what we were just seeing like kicked in at some point, and I was like, whoa, wait, we're watching the virtual convention, like as you're building the thing for the thing for the thing. So I think we should just give you a big round of applause right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And your team.
Jay, this does not look like something that you've just cooked up. And I found out it is less than 24 hours since I even found the link to this, and this has been well worth attending. Thank you.
So I think like I should schedule like in 2 weeks, like an hour meeting, maybe at like 4 p.m. Eastern, or I'm not sure. I could use Mixlead to take a poll for when the meeting is. Just try out stuff, have the live component, as well as the asynchronous discussion forums.
That is actually a whole topic that we didn't even get into, which is the post convention, like what happens then. So your attendees come, things happen, what stays around, what's going to be there for yours. It's going to be a continual, all the data is going to be there, right? And then for follow-up, we'll like, I don't know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. Here it's a forum system that's not based on Facebook or Discord or anything. So at least we can use it, start doing discussions. You know, each speaker has a discussion group. So if any vendor wanted to add to it, that would be great. And then of course we can, upload documents, we could upload pictures. The main thing is to have threaded discussions, and then could mine the good bits and have just regular pages that might be a bit more curated.
Is there a way to do to send a follow-up message in that system to for retention for like the people today? To, I don't know if there's a poll. Well, like you said, maybe that Mixify is something that you could send.
Well, I mean, I have everyone's email, so I could just do a mass email.
Mhm.
I'd probably have to get some other better mailing list system. And of course, we can contact other members right through here.
Right. Just thinking like of a way that we could also use to apply to other conventions, because we, as you know, we have our 3D convention we ended up using MailChimp,
Mhm.
and we didn't really get like really opt in for the messages. So at some point we have to send out like, we did send a follow-up survey, but I think we need to manage better the opt-in nature of the mailing list and whether people want to get it and all that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation I've started having at work as well, on which is our main global list that's reaching everyone, and is it opt-in, is it
Mhm.
how is it being curated, how do we drill down smaller, more interested people, like that whole management system of the people attending and how to reach out. We did a mass mailing after our high holidays based on the Zoom report of what emails they used to log in, because we required registered users. So a few people registered with like a home address but ended up using their work Zoom. And so they got a follow-up email from us to their work Zoom account, their work email. And they were like, oh my God, where did you get this from? So that, I think that's a whole conversation on follow-up and retention, and then customer database management.
That Zoom, the information that Zoom gets that can give to the meeting organizers is something that regular users wouldn't have any idea that you have that information. Like it's really great. It's granular. You can see all the emails and how long they were on and which sessions they went to. And yeah, we use that to try to kind of tie against our registration list. And we didn't really go too deep into it, but it's definitely, it's a good resource. But you're right. Like if you use it in the wrong way, in an unexpected fashion, people could be confused.
Okay. You guys want to just call today? I know,
so.
Dave, you want to go to.
I want to check out your Wonder and your little high fidelity rooms. See how those are.
Yeah, I mean, I did hardly anything on it. The high fidelity, I had an idea of making links to sort of a whiteboard, separate program, but didn't get to that.
Yeah, you need Dave Heiser to be in a room with you at the time and then volunteer to do it, and then he'll magically make things happen.
Right. But yeah, the Wonder Me seems to be really interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Jay, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. This has just been
Yeah.
amazing. I feel like I learned so much today.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody who presented and shared their ideas.
Yeah. Hopefully we can just keep this community going, get more people in, and save a lot of pain.
Should we all go to one of those rooms, like the high fidelity or the wander one?
Want to go to Wonder.me?
Let's
Yeah.
go to. We could go to the high fidelity one first, because Dave and I could probably give a quick, tell people quickly how to move around in there. We use that for our convention.
Yeah, let's go to high fidelity.
Or I mean, Jay, do you want to? Could we go to the 3D room? That's more
Yeah,
fleshed out.
that would be better. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
paste that in.
Wait, which one's that? Can you guys put it in the?
The one that's in the chat.
Yeah,
it's-
I pasted one in, but let's go with Dave's.
yeah,
okay.
Dave just pasted it into the chat. So I think the way to do it is you would click on it, and then before doing your audio and speaker setup, you want to log out of Zoom, because
Yeah.
it'll kind of cross over. So click so that the link is in your browser and ready to go, and then log out of this meeting.
But when you say log out, you mean disconnect from rather
Yeah, you could actually
Yeah.
mute and stop the video, I think, but I think we're
Yeah.
closing the video.
Wait, why is it a 3D? Why is it called 3D?
This is left over from in August. We had a National Stereoscopic Association meeting, and so we fleshed the high fidelity room out a bit more than what we have for the virtual convention one. So there's a bit more kind of to see in this room.
Ah, is there like an editor that they have?
You could
No.
No, there's a JSON file that you can set up where you can set up hot links and you can set up a map underneath.
How does the JSON file work? Is it hard to use?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, JD.
That's why I didn't add any links. You have to like manually type in and figure out XY, and it was like I can't even like use a Adobe Illustrator file to translate. It's just
You're only one man, Jay.
Yeah.
you only have 10 fingers in. But look, I can share my screen and I can show you what. Yeah, well, actually, why don't I do that? Why don't I show you? I can give an overview of what we did in this.
audio, 5% of the attention, 95% of the problems.
Okay. Okay. So the first issue you run into is when you're in Zoom, you're using your microphone, and then you come over to here, and if you're not muted in Zoom, then the things feed back. So you want to choose the mic input that's the correct for you to talk, and then you choose the headphone, and you can test with the talking and the sound, and you just click next. You can choose put a name there. You can put a picture there. You can choose a circle that's around you. And then you have this room, which is basically there's a JPEG underneath it. So there's a big JPEG that Dave Heiser fleshed out. And then picture that as just like the lowest level. And then above that, that's where the JSON file comes in. And the JSON file is defining coordinates where like XY coordinates where it makes them clickable. So like notice that like if I hover here, it's made an XY coordinate for the registration table. And so we tried to make that, you come in here, you go right to the registration desk, which is the page on our website. So when you're moving around here, you do have to make sure that you're not clicking on links or they'll open up. Now that's kind of the icing on the cake, really, because that's not part of what the basic high fidelity is all about. what's happening now is that these people are here. So we've got Dave and we've got Rachel. So I can click on there. I can mute her for everyone just to be kind of mean. But she can unmute. You can use your right mouse click to rotate, which sort of makes you listen like closer to somebody. So you can kind of, if you want to talk, you can kind of like, it's like I'm facing Dave now. I'm facing Rachel. You can use your mouse. You can use the right and left arrows. This works on the iPhone as well. It works on the Quest actually, if you feel like doing it, but it's not in VR. And then you chat. Dave, was there anything I missed
Say
there?
again?
Was there anything that I missed in my quick overview of?
I'm having a hard time understanding. I think there's too many inputs.
Oh, okay.
Hang on.
Okay, but I think that's it in a nutshell. I mean, should we just pop into the room? Everyone ready to kick out of the Zoom and go into the high fidelity?
Yep.
All right, let's do that.
But don't close this thing, just so everyone can like have that link in case they didn't click on it yet.
Oh yeah, if so, then you want to mute and yeah, I guess just mute or change audio. Yeah. Actually, I think you have to change your audio source in Zoom. Maybe it works both across. Maybe.
what else is weird is if when you move your screen, your avatar between other people, and like just try and squeeze through a gap. It is so bizarre. Oh, hang on. Was I muted or not muted? Yeah. I've got the cleaner here. We have this sort of Korean cleaner who turns up every 2 weeks, and we don't know how to tell them don't keep coming because they don't speak English. Oh.
I'm sorry.